Hello and welcome back to the channel. My name is Eddie Jennings from EJSLLC.com. This video is going to be another in my RHCE practice session series where I am going through the objectives and preparing for the Red Hat Certified Engineer exam. Before I dive in, I want to thank returning subscribers for watching another video, as well as invite everyone who's watching, if you haven't subscribed yet, to click that subscribe button and ring the bell when you do, so you can be aware when new content comes available. Also, if you enjoyed the video, make sure you click like and feel free to share with others that might find the video useful or might enjoy it themselves. In this video, I'm going to continue with the install and configure an Ansible Control Node set of objectives for the RHCE exam, and we'll be looking at the create a configuration file objective. I want to remind you that these videos are not necessarily intended to be authoritative information, nor are they intended to be a tutorial, but rather it's an opportunity for me to go through the objective and do a self-assessment, and at the end of the video I'll see whether or not I feel confident about whatever objective I'm discussing, and if I don't feel confident about it, then I'll add it to my list of things I need to shore up knowledge base wise before I take the exam, which will be in about 3 weeks or so. That being said, I do try to have the information as accurate as possible. So I'm already in my Ansible Control Node, and really this is just leaving off from the last video where I created some inventory files, and I've covered some stuff about Ansible configuration files in some other videos, so I'm going to go pretty quickly through this one. The default configuration file you can find within etc Ansible folder. So let's go ahead and cd into that, Ansible, and we see ansible.cfg. So let me vi into that. And looking at the default configuration file, then you can see what a lot of the default values would be, because almost everything in here is going to be commented out. And so honestly, I like configuration files that are like this, that have commented out values, but those values are the default values. It really helps, especially if you're just learning about Ansible, and it helps you understand what all of your default values are, kind of in one little concise place versus having to dig through a lot of different documentation to be able to find it. So the objective is we need to create one of these files. So if you're on the exam and you have the objective that says, create a configuration file that has whatever configurations in it, and you get stuck with that, you will have the default configuration file if you have, a normal installation of Ansible going on that you can use basically to copy what you need. So what I'm going to do here, and again, this is going to be too long of a video because, I've went over configuration files and such and some others, but let's go back actually to our original folder. And one thing to remember with configuration files is you do have precedent that comes into place with this, as far as like the lowest precedent file is the etc ansible.cfg file. And let's go in this order. The very first thing that Ansible will look for is there an ansible.cfg file in your current working directory? And if there's not, then it's going to look and see if there is a hidden file .ansible.cfg in the current user's home directory. And then if it can't find that, then it'll go to etc ansible.cfg. So what I'm going to do, actually, I'm going to create a directory here. We're just going to call it config test, or config test, I guess is what I will do. cd into that. And we're going to create a configuration file. The thing to remember is that it needs to be named ansible.cfg. And what we're going to do in this configuration file, I'm going to create a defaults section, because we're going to set our inventory with this. I'm going to do inventory equals home Eddie admin, and then inventory -ini. And with that, we have made a configuration file. It is that simple. Now, what this is going to do, since obviously I only had just one thing in the configuration file, it's going to use the configuration for inventory, and then everything else is going to be whatever the default configuration is. Let's say that you had set up a configuration in the etc ansible.cfg file, then when I run Ansible here, it's going to read my local file and get the inventory value, and then it'll read the etc ansible.cfg file and get whatever values I've specified in that, and then you have default values for everything else. So we'll put this to the test real quick. Ansible, we'll do all. I'm not going to specify an inventory file. We're just going to run the ping module, And as I discovered in my last video, do -K to feed it my password since I haven't set up key-based authentication yet to my nodes. And let's see if it works. Famous last words, right? Let's see if it works. So it did. And so it knew what inventory file to look for because of creating this Ansible.cfg. Now, one thing I am curious about, and we're going to do a couple little experiments here. So let's go back to our Ansible.cfg, and I'm going to remove the defaults line. And I'm curious to see if this will still work. Okay, file contains no section header. All right, so that is a thing. Now we're going to do one other change here. Let's go to our etc Ansible directory and Ansible.cfg. If I can type, there we go. And let's pick out something that's not in default values. Let's see what we have here that would be useful for us, at least for doing a little test. Now, all of my other little labs, when I have specified the inventory, I've always put the defaults. But all right, so we can say become true. All right, I like this. So just become equal true. So we're going to copy that, and that's under privilege underscore escalation. So let's go back, and we're going to go into our conf test file, Ansible config. So this had to have defaults because it complained that there was nothing there. And what I'm going to do is not say inventory, oops, but I'm going to set become equals true, even though it's not a default, it's under privilege escalation. But I'm just curious to see if it will work. So Ansible all -ping -K and then -I for my inventory file. Since I removed that part of the configuration, let's see what happens here. Ask for SSH password. Okay, and that works. I don't think you have to do privilege escalation for that. So let's do a different one. Let's do the user module, and we'll just add a user. Name equals test1, state equals present. What I'm trying to do is break stuff, and I encourage you to do this with your own practice, because when you break stuff with things that might seem kind of like common errors, it makes, permission denied, and that makes sense because it cannot unlock that. When you're breaking stuff, it gives you a chance to see what some of the errors would look like. So that way, when you get on the exam and something's going wrong, you might recognize, oh, I've seen this error before, and remember what you broke to get to that error, and that might help you as far as the exam itself. So let's do this. I'm going to do -K, and that should make us give the become password. Let's see what happens here. All right, so let's do this. Let's go back to our Ansible.cfg, and we're going to remove defaults, and I'm just going to put privilege escalation. If I spell privilege right. All right, has it complained about configuration? So that's my SSH password, and the become password is going to be the same for it. So I'll just press enter. I'm kind of surprised with that. I figured that I should be able to do this. All right, so let's try this. -B. So we'll explicitly say become. Okay, so that worked, and that makes sense because I explicitly said become for that. But I figured the become equals yes, as well as CFG, become equal true. I figured that would be, or maybe that's just for playbooks. So that's something I'm going to need to look up between now and my exam, because it wouldn't surprise me if there was some type of objective that said, configure an Ansible environment where all of your playbooks and such just run with become privileges. All right, but before I give up on that, I want to try one other thing. And this, of course, is getting outside the scope of just making a configuration file, but I'm going to make a quick playbook here. And what I'm going to do is, all right, hosts all tasks, make a test user, user module name test2 state present. All right, so I am not going to put anything in the playbook for this as far as going to become. So we're going to do -I inventory file, and we're going to do -K for asking for the become password. I actually need to do lowercase k for doing the remote, and then uppercase K for that. That's strange. All right, so now I'm curious. And I know I mentioned I was going to drop this, but anyone that knows me knows I don't particularly like stopping if I don't fully understand something, but sometimes you have to. So let's see, we're about 13 minutes into the video. Let's see if I can figure it out real quick. So let's go to our privilege escalation. It'd be easier just to search for that. So become true, become method, sudo. Well, it's kind of obvious. I'm fairly certain that, let's try one more. So we're going to do this become ask pass. We're going to change that from false to true. Unless I misspelled privilege. I'll bet that's it. Let's spell escalation correctly, and let's see what happens now. Let's go back to our original just Ansible ad hoc command. So just do Ansible all m user, and we'll do name test3 state present dash lowercase k dash uppercase k. Actually, this is going to fail because it needs an inventory file. So, all right, let's see what happens. Keep the password the same, and I'll bet this is going to work. Yep, it did. All right, so now let's put it to the test with the playbook, because the playbook's going to be adding user 2. Yeah, Ansible dash playbook. Okay, so that makes sense. I simply had privilege escalation misspelled in the configuration file, but it kind of gives you an example of, this is what you can do with that configuration file, as well as perhaps this happens to you on the exam and you're like, I put the become equals true. Why is this not working? Spelling counts, right? So hopefully you found this useful. At the very least, maybe it was entertaining watching me struggle just a bit to figure that out. I want to thank returning subscribers for watching another video, as well as invite you once again, if you haven't subscribed yet, to do that. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you click like and feel free to share it with others. As always, thanks for taking the time to watch, and I'll see you the next time.